Welcome to NDR Ministries New Day Revival Podcast, located here in the studios in Dodge City, Alabama. We're glad that you are tuning into us with your host, Timothy McDonald Turney, aka PT. Multiple different topics, all the way from biblical topics to everyday affairs in our lives, where we have to get you back on track and make God pleased with your life, and you will be pleased living that life. So let's go on inside and get ready for this podcast this week. You're going to love it. Let's go.
And a big hello to you. Hi, this is Pastor Tim. Call me PT here in Dodge City, Alabama. And we are at the remote studios of NDR Studios here for our podcast today on Where is My Northern Star? I hope you had a good week, a good time. I want you to know that I'm kind of excited and not excited about today's broadcast, because today is the ending of our series, God is Making Me an Arrow. I've enjoyed going back through the process of, studying and getting the and making all this happen. And teaching it. It's one of my favorite teaching aspects in all the years of different subjects and series that we've taught. I think one of my top two favorite series, as I was pastoring in Nashville, Tennessee, I brought the people through John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. If you've never read that book, I suggest you do, especially if you're a young leader who is wanting to have some kind of good ideas and understanding about how to lead. John Maxwell is one of the best out there. I've been with him multiple times, last couple of times in North Cleveland, Church of God in Cleveland, Tennessee. But that book radically changed my thought process, my behavior, everything when it comes to understanding leadership. That was a good series. I think we went for... it was 21, but I doubled up on some. I think it was about 12 to 13 weeks. And another series that was really fun, eye-opening and very intuitive, and something that I think pastors ought to teach their congregation, and that is the bait of Satan. It's about being offense. I think we went through that a couple of series ago before we started this, talking about not being offended. I think we interjected that program in the middle of this series too. I felt like we needed to do so. Another one was called the Mountains of God, and every mountain that the Bible talks about, Mount Moriah, Mount Olive, all these mountains, Mount Horeb, all of those things had significant biblical, I want to say biblical value, but that's the best term I can think about, is biblical value. And they taught us a lesson, places where the place where Abraham was going to sacrifice his son Isaac was the place that the temple was built. So that was, but this series is one of my favorite because it's good for discipleship. It's the developmental aspect. And we had talked about the process of taking a stick. And what was it? The removal was our first in the series of this 7 series topic. The stick being removed from the tree, the place that gave it life, and then it had to be skinned, it had to be shaved, it had knots had to be removed, and then it had to get balance. And then it had to be preserved in oil so that the wood would not rot. And so it would keep it straight. Then the feathers were applied, and those feathers, they're disappearing because they're green. And of course, I've got a green screen behind me. So that's why when you have a green screen behind you and you're putting overlays, you don't wear green. I was in a shirt the other day and I was doing a little test run, and all but my head disappeared. So it was cool, but kind of funky. The feathers being the word of God applied to our life to keep this arrow on target. We talked about the head being applied because the head creates weight, which helps to carry the arrow once it's being launched. out. And then last week we talked about the bow. Look at that. The bow. That's weird. The bow's green. Oh, and the string's green, so you can get a little bit of you can get the end of the arrow is black, so you can see that, and there's the handle. But the bow representing the ministry that launches this arrow out into there. We talked about the hand of God and the fivefold ministries. If you don't remember the fivefold ministries, they were the the apostle, the prophet, the evangelist, the pastor, and the teacher. And Ephesians 4 and 11 talk about that. We have those offices. So today is the culmination of the hiding place, where it says that once he said he's made me a polished shaft and he hid me in his quiver, according to Isaiah 49. And so we're going to get into the depth of this, and I really want you to listen very closely, because if there's things that do happen in life, we tend to get, in this society, we tend to get a little bit crazy with the now. We want it quick. When you're going through the algorithms, one of the things they suggest to you is create a reel, or in YouTube, create a short, create a reel in Facebook or Instagram. And people tend to watch the reels, and I understand that, because I tend to gravitate towards the reels, something that's not going to take me a long time to watch. But anything that's worth anything is going to take a little bit of time, and we need it now. And you don't learn through the now, the quick, the microwave thing. You learn by taking time, by studying and writing. I think when I was in college, we had in a class of our writing class, it was our speech class, and it was talking about retention. When you listen to something, you're able to retain 18 to 20%, if you're lucky, of what you're listening to. But if you read, you're able to retain a little bit more. I think it gets into the 40% range or so, like that, 50% range. But if you listen, you read, and you write it down, you take the time to do that, your retention value jumps up into the 80%. That's very important. And we tend to get a little bit crazy with life, because we're thinking, all right, God has forgot about me here, and I've been waiting on him. And that quiver, we're going to get into why he puts us that arrow. Remember, the arrow has completed. Why does he put me in a pouch in the back, in a dark place, head down, and he carries me around? And I'm ready to go. I'm this arrow. I've been prepared. I've went through the process of being prepared. When you, there's an old, I don't know if it's a Chinese proverb, which says, when preparation meets opportunity, you have success. If opportunity is coming your way and you have been preparing for that opportunity, you can have success. If you're not preparing for it, you don't know how to take advantage of that opportunity. I'm going to get into why it seems like that God is delaying, but his delay is not delay because he likes to make you wait. What was the old saying? Hey, you want to, how do you keep a monkey in suspense? I don't know. I'll tell you tomorrow. And it's not anything like that. It's because God knows everything there is to know, and he knows everything about your life and where you can be at. And if you are patient with him, and you are going to let him use you as the arrow that he has created, then you will reach your purpose and your destiny, and you will hit the mark. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So when we come back after this, after this ad from Track Sound Studio, we're going to get right into it.
Track Sound Studio is a full-service turnkey music studio. Our goal is to help the artists publish their songs and put them on the radio. Track Sound Studio can help you with all your marketing decisions. Our state-of-the-art equipment and engineering produces high-quality, professional results at very affordable prices. Call us today to set up your recording session at 256-841-1292 or visit us at tracksoundstudioinc.com.
Track Sound Studio. We had our good friend of ours, Nita Crump, wonderful singer. She came in, she won it. The artists that had been recording there, they had a drawing, and they would get a free master recording from start to finish and have it mastered out and ready for release. If they won it, they won one song, and she won the drawing, came in, and we did it this weekend. Man, it turned out wonderful. And I'm going to tell you what, my buddy Nita Crump, that girl, she don't sing. She's what we call, that girl can sing with an A. I mean, I've always loved her voice. Her and Carl, I met when I started in ministry, and when I married Lori, I moved to Walker County, and we met at Ruby Prater's church, Assembly of God Church, right there in Piney Woods, Alabama, right there before you get into Sipsey. Just a wonderful singer, and so she has been just she's an incredible voice. Maybe one day we'll feature her in her songs, and I'm certain that you will absolutely love her music. All right. So now let's go ahead and let's get into this. Now, our lead scripture is Isaiah 49:2. He hath made my mouth like a sharp sword. In the shadow of his hand, he hath hid me. He hath made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in his quiver. He concealed me in his quiver. God's arrow, the hiding in his quiver is what today. Now, let me say this. What if the delay that you feel isn't rejection, but it is preparation? What if you are an arrow hidden, waiting to be released at just the perfect time and the perfect place? That's the question I'm asking you. Sometimes I know that there may be some that's listening to me may think that the delay seems like it's killing me. But what if that delay, it's not rejection. It's not that God's rejecting you. God is never going to reject you. The only time in a human being's existence that God will reject you is if when you stand before him at the judgment seat and you don't have the blood of his son, Jesus Christ, applied to your life. I have to tell you now, you have forced his hand to reject you, because he said, the sheep I put to my right hand, the goats I put over to my left. Those names are not written in the Lamb's Book of Life that will be cast away into the lake of fire. Hopefully it might be next week or it's the following week, but I had a testimony from a young man who's lived a very, 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 very rough life. And he was in prison. He had an encounter. He was always one. He was more like an atheist. Actually, he was a pagan. He believed in, and he has the tattoos on his body and the years that he followed. And in his own testimony, he talked about doing things to Christians and confronting them and the people he hurt. And he got a lot of years in prison, but while he was in prison, something happened to him and he died. They did chest compressions on him to the point a guard had broken his sternum. And it's documented that he was gone. Heart was stopped for 20 minutes, but he comes back with a testimony of his experience in hell, and then how he was brought to a place of peace that he said it could only be heaven, and the Lord brought him back to the doctor's astoundment and everyone around him, that you shouldn't even be alive. You shouldn't even, and if you are alive, you should be a vegetable with no brain activity. But God has other plans. And I said that because his choices and what he went through, and his choices and what he went through brought him to a place where he rejected God. God didn't reject him, but the Lord turned around and saved him and healed him. And now he is a wonderful mouthpiece for the kingdom of God. Great testimony, warm heart. And I want to do kind of a reaction to him next week and introduce you to him if it be possible. But what if the delay that you are feeling in your life isn't rejection, but it's a preparation? And what if you are an arrow hidden, waiting for the perfect time to be released? Now, when we talk about a quiver is a container for an arrow, and an arrow is an arrow in the quiver isn't wasted, but it is protected until the right time. Now, I want to say that again. This is a clarification to you that an arrow in the quiver, in that pouch, it's not wasted arrow. It's there, but it's being protected until it is at the right time. And I know that I put out a little video of me testing an arrow, and that and what I did is I brought into I set a target up, and I went to oh man, what was it? I went in the backyard and just tried to give an kind of give an idea about where how close you need to be you get to the target. Let me bring that up. I want to show that to you here.
Isaiah 49. We've been in a series, God is making me an arrow. This week is the culmination of that entire series. It's part number 7, which is the hiding. And what is the hiding? It says that he has hid me in his quiver. Quiver. So pouch. But the arrow goes down. Hides the arrow. Do you know what quiver stands for? In the Hebrew, there's the word ashpah. And ashpah means a place of God's instrument. But the root word was ashchaf, which means conjurer, necromancer, astrologer. What? So I'm thinking, what is he talking about? He's talking about this, when God hides us in a quiver. He's putting us down in a dark place. Remember, we've been going through the arrows, getting prepared. The arrow is prepared. But now we gotta be launched out of the bow, okay? But what we gotta do is hit our target. Here's our target. This target represents life, okay? And so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna say, can I hit that target? We're gonna find out. So, I've got my arrow, I've got my bow. If I'm this close to the target, boom! That's easy. But what happens if I back up? I back up here. At that distance. I'd still hit it. What if I'm way back here? The farther I get from my target, the less likely I am to hit it. Prove it, PT. How about this distance? See, watch this. Here it goes. I missed. See, the farther that you get away from the target, the less likely you are to hit it. He says he hid us in his quiver. In other words,
trying to get back here. So I'm gonna pause it right there because we're gonna get in. It gets into it. Just wanted to show you the distance. I know that was a Walmart bought arrow and bow. Still do the job if you're close enough. So you know what delay and the arrow. It's being protected at the right time, and the reason it's being protected at the right time is because God knows when He wants to launch you out. There's a strategy and there's a wisdom and there's timing, and it stressed that God alone knows that perfect timing. And God is, he shapes us in the hidden season. So let's move this read there that, the Hebrew word for that often is tied to strategy and wisdom. Now let's get into the arrow as being, arrow representing this metaphor for us and our being prepared. Arrows designed with precision. Remember, they're designed with precision. They're balanced. There is no knots, nothing that would tend to try to get it off its target and make it go through the air and wobble. And we wobble. Let me see if I can get to that camera. Ooh, Hey, look, we're in 3D again. We're in 3D. And this head, and remember this right here represented the word of God. It gives it balance, but it's got to be sharpened and straightened before it can fly. And just like that, God shapes us in our hidden seasons. The children of Israel, they had to go through a judgment time because they rejected God's choice. And now I'm saying it here because I believe it. I don't know if I was standing there, I tend to think that I would have believed myself. But when some of these guys that went through, and there was 10 of those 12 that went into the land of Israel, and they spied the land, and they said, we see giants in the land. And they came back and said, there's no way that we could that we can overcome this. And of course, Joshua and Caleb said, yes, we can overcome it, because they still had faith, because they remembered, as these other guys did, what God had did in Egypt, and what he did at the Red Sea, and what he did in the wilderness as they were going from there up to the land of Canaan before they crossed the river of Jordan. And they had an opportunity to go across. Now, let me say this. God was preparing as they were on this long journey. He gave them water out of the rock. He gave them manna from heaven, angels' food. He prepared them. At one time, he brought flocks of birds in to the point where their mouth was full of it, making them sick. And they'd complain, why aren't we getting meat? They did all of that, and God took care of them. And he was preparing bees to go before them and chase out the inhabitants. God was going to use a little bitty bumblebee or a honeybee or a hornet, whatever kind of bee it was. It didn't matter. Think about it. How many times you didn't have to have a bee the size of a car or the size of a human being to cause you to take off running, screaming. A small little honeybee could have flown around your head, and you start reacting. Whether you're allergic to it or not, you reacted to that one. God was going to use bees to chase out the inhabitants of Canaan. And prior to Israel getting there, all they had to do was trust and believe and go over, and God would have done something miraculous for them. And of course, the Bible says that they doubted. And so what God did, he caused them to dwell in the wilderness until, though a lot of them that came through had died off, and then their children had to be the ones that go across. And this time they went across, and they had to take it by the sword. So just like it, God shapes us in the hidden seasons, and they were ready at that time to get out of the wilderness. 40 years they dwelled. 40 years they were dwelling in the wilderness, a hidden place, a place not where God wanted them to be, but God was trying to take them there. And so these are some things that we have to keep in mind, that God is always ready to take us to the place of our destiny, our purpose, and where we could do great and mighty things. One, we have to trust in him. Two, we have to let him do it. And it may seem like we're in this pouch. Remember that arrow that's prepared is head first into a dark place. And it seems like God is delaying my life and my purpose, but no, he knows it. Now think about this. David was anointed. Like I said, God shapes us in the hidden seasons. David was anointed king, but he went back to the field. He was in the quiver until God released him in 1 Samuel 16, when Saul had died in battle with Jonathan, his son, with the hands of the Philistines. And in one day, David received his kingship. But remember this now, not only was he anointed to be the king of Israel, he went back and he herded sheep. And when he was called up to be the musician for Saul, to help Saul when the devils were troubling him, and he would soothe them with his harp playing and his singing and his worship to the Lord. Yet David slayed Goliath, but he still was not king. Even to the point after he slayed Goliath, He was part of Saul's army. Saul loved him. Jonathan loved him. The Bible said that David and Jonathan were just like this. Their hearts were melted together. They were just like brothers together. They loved one another. But Saul, when they were coming in from battle one time, all the people were chanting and cheering because they were free. They had killed their enemy. And they said, Saul has killed his thousands, but David has killed his 10,000s. And Saul got jealous. I mean, he got jealous. And then from that point on, he sought to pin David against the wall with a spear one time. And then he chased David. And David was having to live in caves and hide in the rocks and hide in places like in Gedi when Saul was after him, and he was hiding in the desert place of En-Gedi. But in that desert place of En-Gedi, God prepared him. There was some food and there was fresh water that flowed out. And he took care of him, but he wasn't king. He was in the quiver. He was in that hiding place. And God could have made him king the moment Samuel anointed him. He could have become king, but he was not ready. And God knew he was not ready. Let's think about this. Who was another? Moses. I mean, Moses as a child was raised up in the house of Pharaoh for 40 years. And then when he did what he did, and God brought him to the wilderness. And he stayed in the wilderness another 40 years before he went in and took the children of Israel and led them out. He was in the quiver. And even Christ himself was in the Lord's quiver because he was born in the manger. He was born a perfect being, so to speak, because he had no sin. He was Son of Man and Son of God. Yet he had to fulfill his purpose and his destiny. And it wasn't when it was born, and it wasn't when he was 12. He was astounding the scholars and the scribes and the rulers of the temple and the priests of the temple. They were amazed about how his wisdom and all the questions he was able to ask, questions he was able to answer. He did that, but yet he was not. And then at 20 years of age, could have started ministry. At 21, 22, I was that age. I got saved in 21, started preaching the gospel at age 22. So, he could have well started his ministry, but it wasn't ready. God wasn't ready for it. And then the day came. He was 33. The day came when he walked over that hill and John the Baptist saw him coming. He said, there he is, the Lamb that will take away the sins of the world. And then his ministry started. And we could spend hours and hours relaying back the people in the Old Testament and the New Testament where God did specific things in their life, and he was calling them to great things, but yet they didn't start it at the moment they might have thought they were ready to start. Peter looked and said, "Hey, Christ, I'm never going to deny you, and I'll go with you to the ends of the world." He said, "Peter, you're going to be the rock on which the church is going to be built, but, you're also going to deny me 3 times. You're not ready yet." He even looked at him. He said, "But when you are converted," what does it mean? When you are converted. So there's countless examples of people that were hidden, that were in the quiver, that were not ready yet. And that's the thing, is to being patient with this process. This hiding season, it protects us from premature exposure. If an arrow is shot too early, it misses its mark. Our culture often pushes us towards this now encounter, this now process, where we spoke earlier about it being a microwave society. But the encouraging place is the hidden place is not a punishment, but it's preparation. And now why would, let's see if I can pull this here. In the Greek word where he talks, the Hebrew word for quiver, its first word is ashpa. Pronunciation is ashpa. It means home of God's instrument. a place for God, for his instruments. But the root word of ashpa, let me show you here, is ashaf. Say it with me, ashaf. It means conjurer or astrologer. Now, when I was reading that, when I first studied that, I thought that to be quite remarkable. Now, why would God do that? Why would he put that in the terms and context? Give me just a moment here. I was going to, for some reason, this mouse has died upon me, has died upon me. And we'll plug it up. There we go. It's stopped moving. It's I've got one of these new mouses. It's a recharger. It's a gamer, and now I know that it don't last long. So when we talk about ashpa, it means a conjurer or astrologer. And when I first studied that, I thought, wow, a conjurer or an astrologer. I know what conjurer is. I mean, I know what an astrologer is. And what is that? Why would he use that word here? It's simply because an astrologer is able, they use the stars to tell the future. They use things to try to do the best to tell the future. But see, you under the influence of a demonic spirit who knows a few things, people are able to be what am I looking for? I want to say confused, but they're able to be led astray because they think that and maybe somebody's listening to me and you think, well, he's wrong to say there's no fortune tellers. Well, there is no fortune tellers. There's no human being on this planet that can tell the future unless two things happen. One, the demons know about our family. They know about our history. That's why some of them say, you have a mother and you have 3 brothers. Yes. How did you know that? And one brother died when he was 3. Yes. How did you know that? Well, the demons knew it. And that person is under the influence of that demonic force. They're allowing themselves to be channeling that. And they're able to say that thing in order to draw them in, to manipulate them. Okay. And then the second is unless God reveals it. Other than that, human beings do not have the ability to tell the future. Maybe when we get our glorified body, we'll have ability to do so, but only God can do that. And we don't need, I don't need somebody to read me my stars to tell my future. Why? Because I know the maker of the stars. Boop. Who was it? It wasn't Kenny Chesney. I'm trying to think of Mark Chestnut. I'll have all I ever need thanks to the keeper of the stars, the maker of the stars, our God in heaven. He knows it. He has the ability. He's omnipresent. He's omniscient. He knows. He's omnipotent. He's all powerful. He's all knowing. He's all seeing. He can be every single where that he wants to be at any given time. Lucifer does not have that ability. All the host of angels that fell from heaven and those that are still in heaven do not have that ability. You and I do not have that ability, whether we're in a glorified body or not a glorified body. We do not have that ability to be everywhere we want to be and know everything. Only God can. And that's why that quiver, he said, he has hid me in this place. Because remember, we said earlier that this hiding place, it's not a place of punishment, but it's a place of preparation. It is a place, it is what the quiver is contained for arrows. An arrow is in the quiver. It isn't wasted. It is protected for the right time, simply because, remember that video I showed you earlier of me shooting the target? God knows where he needs to be at in order when he's ready to launch that arrow, ready to launch us out into our purpose. And if we'll wait on him, if we'll be patient with him, if we will allow him to do what only he can do, he will take that ability, he will take that might, and he will bring us into a place of our purpose if we'll wait on him. It may seem like it's not happening fast enough. That's simply because, God is It's not happening fast enough. It's simply because God knows exactly where he's at, how close he is to that target. And you don't want to get frustrated with God's timing. Do you feel like you are overlooked? Sometimes we do feel like we're overlooked, but God, his perfect timing, it's not punishment, but it is preparation. Now, people have tried to predict the future, and we talked about that, and only God can see this future. We don't need to read the stars to know the maker of the stars, and God decides where, when, and how. He knows the where, he knows the when, he knows the how. One of the things that I've often done when it comes to preaching or being at a place, I'll be at Bethlehem Methodist Church on the 7th of September, and I have prepared. And there's a word that I want to talk about the bait of Satan, the bait trap, and stuff like that. And been preparing. I asked a question. Always did this in the closet. I said, Lord, what do you want them to do? And what do you want them to know? If you, as a minister, can answer those two questions, what do you want them to do? And what do you want them to know? Then you can give them exactly what they need to hear and directions that's going to be almost custom fit for them, because God is speaking through his minister. He's speaking through his head. He's speaking for the one that he is called to do so at that moment. So God decides the where, the when, and the how. And once again, I really don't want you to get frustrated with his timing, because I don't want you, because if you do, you're going to feel like you're overlooked, and you are not overlooked. There's a reason. Psalmist says, those who are planted in the house of the Lord will flourish in the courts of our God. Now I want you to look at that, the house of the Lord and the courts. If you're looking at the temple had the outer court, the inner court, and then the holy place, and then it had the holies of holies. The outer court is where at that time, if they were not part of the Hebraic tribe, they were not allowed to go into the holy place. They were the outer court, and going into that holy place, they needed to be at, and inside that holy of holies, where the presence of God was in the Ark of the Covenant. But David was saying, he who is planted in the house of the Lord, he that will allow himself, and this is why maybe somebody's listening to this right now, and you feel like, well, it's not, you don't feel like, you have been going from place to place. You've been going from church to church all your life. You may have maybe a year and a half is your average. Maybe a year, if you're lucky. I've seen it. I've seen people there. Oh, they're really gun ho. They come in ready to go, ready to charge hell with a water pistol and gasoline Levi's. And within a year or so, oh, that pastor and this place has offended me. I'm out. This is just not the will of God. And they go somewhere else. They don't plant themselves. And if you was to take, and I challenge you to go outside and find you, maybe you've got a plant, maybe you got a rose bush, or you've got a tulip, or whatever's growing, if I get out there, I've got a couple of apple trees, plum trees. But if I dig that up and I go plant it somewhere, now it's probably going to grow, but I've stunted its growth, and it's not going to get going until a couple of months, maybe a year. I've stunted its growth. If I kept doing that every single year, that tree dies. It will simply just die, because it can't take being transplanted over and over. And if it keeps on living, it will always be anemic, and I guarantee you it will not produce any fruit. He who is planted, he will go to a place and serve and work. You feel like you're called to the ministry, go to a place, serve and work. When I first got saved in 1984, November the 18th at 7:35 in Argo Church of God, I was planted there for a few years under the leadership of Johnny Ragland, my beloved first spiritual father. Love him so much and miss him, but he taught me a lot. But I stayed in the house. I worked. Whatever was asked of me, I swept, cleaned, fixed things if I needed to, done some painting, helped in the worship team. I just didn't do the flowery, smell good stuff or the exciting stuff. I got in there and worked in the house. And when you plant yourself in a place, you can grow, because he said, he who is planted in the house of the Lord will flourish in the courts of our God, meaning inside is where we grow. Outside is where we flourish. Outside is where we show our growth. Outside is where they're able to eat of the fruit. Outside is where we're able to minister to the people because we were prepared. God is not overlooking you, but there is a call to patience and faith and readiness. And that patience and that faith and readiness is absolutely imperative. And stay sharp in the word, stay aligned in prayer, and stay balanced in character. Now I want to read that again. Stay sharp in his word, stay aligned. How would I stay sharp in his word? One, I'm reading, I'm studying, and I'm allowing the word of God to be spoken by someone who is ahead in my life, who is a pastor in my life. Everyone has to have a spiritual head. You hear me out right now. Every single person has to have a spiritual head in your life. Everyone. Jesus had one. The disciples had one. The prophets had one. And you've got to have one, because there's sometimes that you just need to have someone that will hear you and listen to you or you to hear them and listen to them. And God will speak to them sometimes. And when you got questions, you go and ask, and to have somebody in there. But stay sharp in the word, stay aligned in prayer, and stay balanced in character. What is my character? I've done some things with my cousin at Wallace State College. We put on these performances and shows. This last one I did, I was Marty Robbins. And then I was Jerry Clower. If you don't know who Jerry Clower is a comedian, Southern comedian, funny as can be. I got me a suit, shoved it full, made it fat, had the wig, and I learned his lingo. I learned his voice, and I knew his jokes, and went out and told a few jokes. I was putting on a character. But when we're sharp in the word, we're aligned in prayer, and we stay balanced in our character. What is our character? Our character, the character of a person is what Martin Luther King was talking about. Don't judge me by the color of my skin, but judge me by the contents of my character. Am I a man of peace? Am I a man of love? Am I a man that I can be trusted? Am I a man who walks peaceably before God? Am I a man who loves his family? Am I a man who works for his community? Am I a man who does right before in the civil things and I obey the laws? Am I a man who people can trust? Those are characteristics, spiritual characteristics. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, temperance, long-suffering, goodness, meekness. These things have to show up in your life. And so he was saying, just be patient with God, exhibit a sharp knowing of the word, prepare yourself in prayer, stay in character, and the moment that God is ready to do some things with you, when he pulls you out of his quiver, there can't no one stop that arrow, and you will hit your target. He knows. He understands. Why? Because he is the God who can see the future. He knows how close you need to be. That bow that I was showing you right there, it's a guarantee at maybe 20 feet. Maybe 30 if you're good with it, but that's really getting really close. There's some arrows that are compound bows that can shoot up to 100. I've got our buddy Jason Medley. He's a really good hunter, very good hunter, and he's got some of the top of the line crossbows that will go a long way. But still, even with the top of the line crossbow, he has only a specific distance before he starts losing the accuracy to hit his target. when you are impatient with God, when you are wanting to be pulled out of that quiver too early, when you're not allowing God to do that, you put yourself in greater risk of not hitting your purpose and your destiny. And if the Lord says, hey, you're not ready yet, I'm not pulling you out, don't rush him. Don't force it. Let it happen, because the most important thing for you is that you allow God to do what only God can do. And to recap this, God hides us in this quiver. He shapes us in hiddenness, and he releases us just at the right time. He releases us just at the right time. Can't say any more. I mean, of course I can say some more, but it would be irrelevant for me to try to push and pull and tug when the most important factors is wait on the Lord. How many scriptures? There's a song that Clint Brown sings. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They will mount up as wings like eagles. They will run and not be weary, and walk and not be faint. So Lord, that's why I choose to wait. I am waiting on you. I'm waiting on you. I'm patiently waiting on you. I ain't worried about the time, 'cause Lord, I seem to find strength while I'm waiting on you. What is that? And is it Isaiah? That they that wait on the Lord, he will mount them up as wings as eagles. They will run and not will be weary, and walk and not be faint. That's where the song was written from. So I'm encouraging you today to wait on the wisdom. There's a strategy, there's a wisdom, and there's a timing. And God knows that perfect timing. You hear? God knows that perfect timing. And when we get back, I'm going to close this out, but I want to bring this message to you with, let's hear from Mr. Gospel G. And then I got a video of a song that I recorded a few years ago. I think it was in 2015, 2016. Yeah, I think it's around 2016. It said, I've been too long in the wind, letting myself back in. Been sitting on the wrong side of the fence. And just we'll get it and be right back.
What's up, guys? Hey, PT again right here. You know what this segment is? This is where the Bible tells us we want to laugh, and it's just like good medicine. And you know what? I've got the doctor of jocularity, Mr. Gospel G. Yeah, man. Woo! Gospel G, what's up, dude?
What's up, PP?
Hey, man, I missed you this week. I didn't get to see you. After they told me you were out of town, now you're back in and you're back out. I don't know what's going on with you. You got things happening?
Oh, yeah, me and the cookie monster looking decent. Cooking cookies.
Yeah, you're the cookie monster. I'll tell you what, you look a little blue. All right. Hey, so what have you got? People out there saying, I want to see if Gospel G can tickle my funny bone.
All right, I got you a good one. What is it? Adam wakes up and finds Eve counting her ribs and ash.
One stinky ribs.
Adam? Yeah. We're talking about Adam and Eve, first man and woman?
Yeah.
So she was doing what? She was counting his ribs?
What?
Counting his ribs.
That's kind of weird. Now, unless you got some ribs and barbecue sauce. And so when he said he woke up.
Oh, yeah. When she was counting his ribs, he said, what are you doing?
Well, I would probably ask the same thing. Well, Lori was sitting there counting my ribs. So what did he say?
Well, Eve said, I want to make sure there's no other woman in your life.
I don't belong. Like a broken record, over and over again. Keep on singing the same old song. I've been too long in the wind, letting my will back in. I've been sitting on the wrong side of the fence. I've been running like a sinner. Now it's time to be a repenter, and I need your hand once again. I've been too long in the wind. What you're going through, same problem, same issue, always on the wrong track. Oh, through the guilt and the shame, if you call on his name, the Lord promised to take you back. You've been too long in the wind, letting your will back in. You've been sitting on the wrong side of the fence. Been running like a sinner, now it's time to be repentant, and you need his hand once again. You've been too long in the wind. You've been too long in the wind. Despite all the choices you made, things didn't turn out like you planned. Father's love is so much greater than our failures. He will take you back again. Yeah. Too long in the wind, let my will back in. I've been sitting on the wrong side of the fence. I've been running like a sinner. It's time to be a repenter, and I need your hand once again. I've been too long in the wind. I've been too long in the wind.
Been too long in the wind, letting myself back in. I've been on the wrong side of the fence. I've been running like a sinner. Now it's time to be a repenter, and I need your help, Lord, once again. I've been too long in the wind. And sometimes we get where we feel like that life is it's leaving us, it's skipping us, it's forsaking us. But I want to here to tell you this. I want to encourage you. I need you to hold on, and hold on with all of your life. Hold on with everything, and know that God's timing is a perfect timing. I'd rather trust my timing into his hands than to trust it anybody else's, because it is not that we try to wait on the perfect time for ourselves. We're never going to find it. But if we wait on the Lord, and he is going to protect us, we're in his quiver, and an arrow in his quiver isn't wasted. It is protected unto the right time. So until I see you again, I'd like to say, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Why? Because he is the maker of all things. He knows all things. He is all things, and he is perfect with all things. Until next time, see you next week. Keep up with us. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button if you're watching us via the YouTube channel. Follow us on Follow us on our Facebook page, mine, Timothy McDonald Turney, or New Day Revival. You'll find all that you need. Until next week, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In Jesus' name.
And we want to thank you once again for watching the podcast, or if you've been listening to our podcast through all the podcast channels from Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. You can find us on NewDayRevival.com. Look at our Facebook page and like the page, or go to our YouTube channel at New Day Revival. Like, subscribe, and follow us there to get notifications. Email us at newdayrevivalministries.com. And remember, it is always a new day for a new revival. See you next time.